So as part of weekly check-ins with my clients, I get them to send over videos of them doing exercises in the gym. But what I often see in clients' submissions is that they're not taking themselves to failure. So let's do that today. Let's go along to this session, do an upper one, and I'll show you what it looks like to take yourself to failure. So I've just finished some crumpets with jam as a pre-workout. I'm just going to finish this coffee and then we'll get on our way. Let's go. Right, so we're here. So let's get you set up, get stuck in, and first exercise is shoulder press. Nice and quiet today, which is a good thing. It means that I can give you all the angles. That's right. So warm-ups tend to be just based around the exercises that I'm starting at the beginning of my workout. So for me at the moment, one of the things that I wanted to progress is my shoulders. So I've front-loaded a lot of my shoulder exercises to the start of the workout because that's where I want to put the most of my effort, my energy, and I don't want to be spending all that crumpet and jam pre-workout that I've just had on arms or abs, for example. I want to use that energy towards the area that I want to develop the most. So I'm going to warm up. Just get blood flowing in the right areas, get the heart rate a little bit, and just get familiar with the motion as well. Just check that the form's right, that my bench is in the right position. Stretching, yeah, I do. But in terms of warm-ups and things, I tend to just do it as I warm up on the exercise that I'm doing. Last week, I did 32.5 for 2 sets of 12. So this time round, because I've been on 32.5 for 2 weeks, I think it was, including last week, this time around, I'm going to go up on the weight. So I've gone 35, 8 to 10. So the reps are slightly lower because it's a higher weight. So it's almost a breaking of the ice, as I call it, to work on that progressive overload. Just manage that expectation a little bit. If the energy's there, win-win. If not, doesn't matter. We're just getting familiar with that weight. And then the following week, back to the 35s and just match or improve on whatever reps I'm going to get this time around. So to get to that 35, I'm just going to start on 15 kilo, 25, and then onto my working set of 35. And the warm-up sets are always a bit of a pyramid. So the lighter the weight, the more reps I do, and then as I climb the weight, I reduce the number of reps that I'm doing just to save the energy and keep some muscle in the tank, just enough to get familiar with the weight and start that climb up. So first warm-up, just under half at 15 kilo to 27.5. But we're only just going to go for 4 to 6. There we go. Right, let's just fucking drive. Here we go. So as I work through this first set towards failure, the first test as to whether you're working hard enough is if you can hold a conversation mid-set. A simple talk test. Because if you can talk as you lift, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You should be too focused on bracing your core and controlling your breathing to be able to string sentences together. And that's why when I go from my warm-ups to my working sets, conversations just cut short. See, most people would stop here. I had another one in me. That's failure. Because most people, they just stop the moment that it gets uncomfortable. I don't even know how many reps I did. Thankfully, I've got you to watch back and count, but I think it was 8? Something around that mark, but by the 6 mark, it was getting uncomfortable. Shoulders are hurting, kind of just want to put the weight down. But if you imagine you've got a tolerance threshold and it's here, and every time you just keep coming up to that point and then stopping, your body has no reason to adapt. It's like, right, okay, we'll reach my threshold. That's fine, we stay below it, I can handle that. But if you mentally start pushing beyond that threshold, you're encouraging your body for adaptation, and that adaptation, endurance, muscle growth. And that tolerance increases as you push higher, whether through a progressive overload, whether that be through reps, weight, reduced rest times. There's so many ways in which you can incorporate that progressive overload. You need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And you don't have to push yourself in every single set, taking yourself to failure, because it will just run you down, fatigue. But you need to time those sets when you do push yourself to failure appropriately. So first proper working set of the session, I'm going to take myself to failure. Next one, I'll go for the same weight again because I got a really number rep count. But I'm not going to push myself as hard, may leave maybe 1 rep in the reserve. And then the third and final set will be a deload. And I'll just go for reps. And I'll expect maybe 12, 15 reps. So we'll see how I get on. Now what I'm looking for here as I lift is that the dumbbells go out to the ear or chin level so that my elbows dip just below 90 degrees. Ideally, I'd have a split-second pause at the bottom of the rep to really emphasize that stretch before the explosive press up. But these were new weight highs, so that'll come in time. Right, now we're working. So that was 7. 1 left in reserve. Good. Right, final set. 35 to 25 for reps. Now you'll notice that my arms are tucked forward ever so slightly too, so it just reduces the strain on my delts and rotators. And this is just a comfort thing, and you may find that your presses are more comfortable if you bring your elbows forward too, even further beyond what I'm even doing here. One more. I hate shoulder burn. It's the worst one. I absolutely hate shoulder burn. That was a good set though. Neutral grip pull up next. 3 sets. 9 to 11 reps. The first 2 sets, we've been 1, 2 reps in the tank, and then the third and final is to failure. Last time I did 3 sets of 10. Let's see if I can beat 3 sets of 10 this time. Full stretch. Drive it up. Hold. Slow negative. Pull-ups have always been a weaker exercise of mine. I'm sure I could knock out more if I went for speed, but that's not the game here. Instead, it's all about control. The neutral grip means hands or palms face inward, and I lead the lift by pulling at the elbows, and I think about trying to get my elbows into my back pockets at the peak of the lift. Brief pause, and then back down. And I don't just drop with gravity either. I control that negative and emphasize the stretch. These are the key differences for effective muscle growth. So another one in me then, and I hesitated, but I stopped because that was 10, and I want to get 3 sets of 10 this time. And I think this is the thing, when you're training to failure, it's making sure that you're training to failure whilst keeping good quality execution, because if you are pushing that final rep and your form gets sloppy, you're just likely to injure yourself because you've emptied your tank, stability's gone, endurance is gone, the energy's gone, and then you've got a heavy, in my case 35 kilo dumbbell over your head. If you can't execute it safely, you'd be better off just staying safe and bailing than pushing through and potentially injuring your shoulder, taking yourself to failure, but with good quality execution. Quality form over sloppy form all the time, every time. So I've got another minute before I go again. So I'm just gonna ditch a layer. Let's see if we can get a different angle for you this time. Pull-ups are one of the best exercises to understand failure on because there's no cheat in it. With a dumbbell, you can use a bit of momentum, you can shorten the range, make it slightly easier without noticing. But with a pull-up, when you can't get your chin over that bar, you can't get it over. That's failure. It's obvious. The hardest pull-up of the set is the most valuable one. Always takes me a minute after a set just to compose myself. That was the 10. I didn't have another one in me then last set. So with a neutral grip, palms face inward. And for the lift, keep your elbows tucked in by your sides. Now notice how the last rep looked totally different to the first. It was slower, took far more effort, and my body's recruited everything it has to get me up. That's the rep that sends the signal to the muscle that it needs to adapt. The first 5 reps, the muscle wasn't under enough stress to change. It's only when you push into that final uncomfortable zone that the body has reason to grow. 5. And that was the failure. That was failure then. Fighting for that last rep. If you imagine a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you could just keep going all day, and 10 was someone putting a gun to your head and saying, if you don't do another rep, the gun goes off. That is the scale where you want to be taking your reps between the scale of 8 and 10 on every set realistically. So 8, you've got 2 reps left in reserve, and then 10, you're going all out until there's nothing in you, where no matter how hard you're trying, if the weight is involuntarily slowing down, then you've reached true failure. So the next exercise is low incline dumbbell press. So for the upper chest. So the incline, especially for targeting the upper chest, you actually want it only about 30 degrees, which is lower than what most people go for. Most people go around the 45-degree mark. 30 degrees is all you need. In fact, that's actually a little bit too low. So I'm just going to knock it up 1. And if you want to see the difference in incline, decline, and flat, then I did a short on it recently. So go check that one out as well. And you can see the difference between incline, decline, and flat, and which builds the bigger chest. So working sets were 32.5, a couple of warm-ups. So because I haven't done any warm-ups on the chest, I'm going to do a couple of working warm-up sets on a lower weight and work up to that 32 that I've been doing for my low incline. Not a lot of reps, just something to get used to the movement again. So incline, drive, and hold. Nice control back down. And deep stretch. So when I do that, I can feel a really nice deep stretch across the top of my chest. Okay. Not a lot, that'll do. So up until recently, I've been doing flat. And I found that as much as I like flat, I just want to develop a little bit more shape in my upper chest. So this is a relatively new movement, and I'm still trying to find my true working set weight. Did 32.5 last week. I'm going to go for 35 today. 8 to 10 reps. I might have more to go up in the weight in the next set as well, but yeah, 8 to 10. And then the next set, the second, 'cause it's only 2 sets, take that to failure. So what I didn't cover off in that warm-up is how I keep my elbows tucked in, almost creating a 45-degree angle in the armpit. It's perfect for the chest activation without shoulder strain. So if you flare your arms so elbows are level with your shoulders, injury is inevitable, so keep them tucked. So that was 10 reps. I maybe had one more in me, but I was reaching my limits there. So I'm going to keep the exact same weight because that's an improvement from last week. So I'm already up progressively. Go from 32.5 up to 35. Whether I will be able to do another 10 reps, we'll see. The rep range is 8 to 10, so minimum 8. If I can do 10 again, then that immediately is already a cue. Go up again on the next week. If I can't, then it'll be to stay at this weight until I've mastered 2 sets at 10 reps. Give it another minute, so that's 2 minutes total rest. So for me, you've got to get used to setting yourself up independently, because as the weight climbs, there's not always going to be someone around to spot you. That's one thing that I've been really working on over this past year, is being able to lift the weights independently, just self-sufficiency. Because then I'm not reliant on someone, because sometimes you get people that are not like best for spotting. They'll either assist you too much or they don't assist you at all. Just do this. God, fluff that entirely. So what I was trying to do there was start with the weight at the top of the rep range, but the incline bench scuppered my setup. So I'm used to a flat bench, so it's just something I'll need to remember for next time. A lot of people cut the motion short on pressing because it feels safer and it allows more weight. But cutting that short to protect the lift is the same as doing half a rep. So people would stop here. And I did. So that's my 7th rep. Didn't get it up. Still partial, which means next session, same weight, 35s. I just need to get that one extra rep. Next, underhand cable row. So for a lot of my full movements, I actually wear straps. Yeah, the compromise is you lose grip strength, but these straps make all the difference in terms of just getting that extra 1 or 2 reps out, which over time compounds. Maybe what splinter. So underhand grip, which just allows me to keep my elbows tucked in nicely against my waist. Similar motion to the pull-up in sense of thinking about trying to get your elbows into your back pocket as you row the bar. Rows are interesting for failure because the temptation to use momentum is huge. And the moment when the weight gets heavy on a row, the body just wants to lean back. You want to use your hips and start swinging the weight more. And when that happens, the back just stops working because the arms have taken over. So on a row, true failure means the point that the back cannot retract the shoulder blade and drive the elbow through anymore. Not that you can't move the weight, but that the back specifically gives out. And if you're leaning back 45 degrees and yanking the weight to your stomach, that's not the back failing, that's just momentum doing the work. And that's just that tiny little difference that I see with so many client submissions, where they stop on that 9th rep. And I can see that they've still got more in them. Because I know when you're doing the set, it feels like you're emptying the tank and you've given it everything you got. But then when you watch yourself back after doing a video, you can see that there's still more in you. It always looks easier on a video than it does in real life. Right, splinters out. So these rows, what am I thinking about? Full range of motion, nice controlled eccentric, and then a solid squeeze. So stretch and squeeze. To be honest, that's the same with every exercise, stretch and squeeze. That's what I'm thinking about when I do these exercises. Breathing, stretching and squeezing. I always struggle to count because I'm too busy distracted on everything else that I'm doing. Squeeze. Slow. Stretch. Squeeze. Go. Yeah, we're working. Let's go again. Rush it. Oh. So just a little flick there at the end. Just get the last bit, a little less breath. Little flick. Which is fine. We're gonna do a triple set, superset, because we're tight on time And then also, just because I'm going to do 3 exercises back to back that don't conflict or interact with one another. So I'm going to do easy bar pullover, followed by bicep curls with the EZ bar. I normally go cable, but it's occupied at the moment. So I'm going to do it onto this, and then followed by the seated wrist curls, finger flexion, just because I want to build a little bit more forearm strength as well.
Superset failure is a different beast. You're pre-fatiguing one muscle group and then immediately asking another one to work. The pullover is going to load the lats and the long head of the tricep through the stretch, and by the time I get to my curls, my arms are already working. So the point here isn't necessarily to hit absolute failure on the movement, but it's to accumulate enough fatigue across the both that the combined stimulus is higher than one exercise on its own. But, and this matters, you still push each movement as close to failure as fatigue allows. That's what accumulated fatigue feels like. The curls at the end of that superset were harder than they would have been if they were fresh, and the muscle is working harder as a result. And that's the added benefit of the superset: convenience and forcing harder work.
Feels like a pointless exercise, but that's why I've got small forearms, and that's why I'm now curling them on the side of a bench to get a massive and when you do an isolation exercise like this one, and independent accessory moves, like one arm on the other, always start with your weaker side first, and then match it with your stronger, more dominant side. And then that way, you give your weaker side a chance to catch up. So I think this has got to be my favourite gym exercise. Not this particular variation, just cable fly in general. I love cable fly for the constant tension it gives, the nice deep stretch and the squeeze, and the pump you get from a cable fly compared to barbell or dumbbell based chest exercises. It's just next level. Absolutely love a chest pump. So I'm doing a low to high variant. This is to again target the upper chest, walk out of it so you've got tension on the cables, and then it's a case of driving up, control it. Ever so slight bend in the elbows, deep stretch, and squeeze. See how I hold 1 or 2 seconds. Feet contraction at the top. Again, that pencil analogy. Imagine there's a pencil in between your pecs and you're trying to squeeze and hold it. Enough. One more in me. So that shaking that you feel when you're mid-set, particularly towards the end of a set, and you're reaching your limit, that shaking is all of your muscles firing. Pretty much just stabilizing the weight because you've emptied the tank, control's going, fatigue's kicking in, and your muscles are just like, whoa! Nervous system's just like, we need to stabilize this. So it's just, the shaking is a good thing because it's your body just reaching its threshold, reaching its limit that I spoke about at the start of the session. And I just picture that as just, you know, you're pushing yourself, you're pushing your limits and you're increasing your limits. So that shaking, it's not a bad thing. It's nothing to be embarrassed about or ashamed about. It's just because you're at your limit, you're at your tolerance. And that shaking goes as you get more comfortable with that weight and you learn to control it. And as you climb the weights, you can go back to an earlier one that you maybe shook at and you won't shake. So I was about 90 seconds rest. Go again. Let's empty the tank now. That's it. Upper session done. So that, amongst a few other illustrations, is what it's like to take yourself to true failure. Not just leaving it when it gets uncomfortable, but pushing yourself and pushing your limits. So underneath this video, in the description, will be a link to this workout plan. So my full 4-day split that's looking at upper lower split, and it's there for you to download and use so you can follow the plan alongside me. And inside of that, it'll give you your workout routine. It will give you the exercises. It's going to tell you the number of reps, the number of sets, the rest time. You know, every single session, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what you're working towards. Then you've got the focus, you've got the intent. No more guesswork, no more toying around with different exercises. The alternatives are going to be in there as well. So if a particular exercise isn't available, you know what you can do instead. It's all mapped out, ready for you. If you want that, as I say, go down on the description, click the link, drop in your email, and it's yours. Entirely free. If you've got any questions, comments, queries after the back of this video, again, give a comment below. Let me know if you like this video. Give it a thumbs up. And if you want more of this, subscribe, because there's going to be plenty more long-form content to come. See you in the next one. I'd help if I turn you on, wouldn't it?